This video is sponsored by Naked Wines. Spring is in the air, and that means it's finally time for ribs out on the grill. So we're going to be doing some ribs tomorrow. Today we're going to be prepping them and getting a sauce ready that's going to kind of serve double duty. It is going to be a sauce we're going to glaze the ribs with tomorrow, but we're also going to put a little bit of it on today to act as sort of a binder and give some of that flavor to sort of marinate the ribs. Now, the easiest way to make most of this is with a blender, and I'm going to be using my NutriBullet. I have one of the containers right here. My first ingredient is 10 ounces of fig jam. Now, if you can't get fig jam, something like, I'd say mango jam or jelly, something like that would work just as good. I'd stay away from strawberry and blueberry. I'm gonna make a mess. That's nothing new. Quick cleanup on aisle rye. Next up, a 7-ounce can or 7.5-ounce can of Chipotle chili peppers in the adobo sauce. We're also going to add a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of a coarsely ground black pepper, about a teaspoon of crushed ginger, and 2 teaspoons of crushed garlic. Now we're going to blend this, and that's partly so those Chipotle chili peppers break down. And we blend. That's what I'm looking for. We're going to transfer this to a bowl and add some honey. Let's get this in our bowl here. Now this is a honey chipotle sauce, so we're going to be adding our honey now, and we're going to be adding 8 ounces or 1 cup. I'm going to eyeball it here. Should be able to get pretty close. Now the reason I didn't put the honey in the blender is because honey has a tendency to really thicken stuff up, and it can really work on the motor of the blender you're using. So I like to add that at the end, unless it's a super, super thin honey. This one isn't. So now we're just going to slowly work this together. It's going to take a little bit. Give yourself some time. We do want to make sure all that honey's incorporated. Let's get a little taste here. That is really nice. It has a nice little sort of background kick. You feel it at the back of your throat. But once it is on the ribs and it goes through the smoking process near the end, it's going to mellow out. And honestly, it's not really, really hot. That sweetness really works well with this. So I'm going to get this into a container, and we're going to get our ribs out here. So I have 3 racks of St. Louis cut spare ribs here. The membrane is on. I'm not going to bother removing it. If you want to remove it, go ahead, you can do that. Sometimes I remove the membrane, sometimes I don't. This time I'm not going to. Now I reserved about a 1/2 cup of our sauce in order to get a little bit of the flavor on here. We're just going to kind of drizzle it on each one. And then just kind of rub it in there on the top. I'm not going to worry about the bone side. Let's flip these over. We're going to start getting our rub on. And then once these are all rubbed up, they're going to sit on a rack in this tray so they're up off of any juices that sweat out. The rub I'm using today is Kansas City style from Sharp Woodshed. This is actually the place where I buy my wood. They have great rubs. We're going to get some on the back here. We're going to get our front side. Our edges too. We'll do a final dusting of the top once the rack is under them. Get our rack under here. And these are going to overlap a little on here. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Get a little dusting here at the end. There's going to be a lot of flavor on these ribs when we smoke them tomorrow. All right, that's looking good. These are going in the refrigerator overnight, just like this, not covered. And tomorrow, I will see you out at the Lone Star Grill's offset. All right, the Lone Star Grill's offset is up to temp. My target today is 250 degrees. We're burning hickory wood. I've got maybe half a gallon of water in the cook chamber. The bottom of the cook chamber here, you can just add water to it like a reservoir. Works really well. Got a drain. I love this thing. Now, let's go ahead and get our St. Louis cut spare ribs on. All right, we're gonna close this up, let these get smoking. We'll come back in an hour and check them, see if we need to spritz. And while these get going, let me tell you a little bit about the sponsor of today's video, Naked Wines. Naked Wines connects you with the world's best independent winemakers, cutting out the middleman so you can enjoy amazing wines delivered straight to your door for up to 60% less. Your membership, along with more than 300,000 others, allows winemakers to do what they do best: craft top quality wines without expensive sales markups common to the marketplace. You get better wine for your dollar, and Naked Wines will even tailor recommendations for you based on your ratings, like your own personal sommelier. Shop on your terms with no tie-ins or hidden fees. And if you order through the link in the video description, you'll get $100 off your first case of wine. Thanks again to Naked Wines for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel. All right, we are at the 1 hour mark. Temp's been holding really steady right around that 250. This cooker uses about one stick, and I have them cut in half, so they're about 10 inches long. So it's like a quarter round, 10 inches long. Uses about one of those every 45 minutes to an hour for a 250 temp. And I always start by having two to build a bed of coals on top of some charcoal that gets them going. But now let's look at our ribs, see if we need to spritz. Really nice color from the combination of that rub and that sauce we put on there, but it definitely looks like we need to spritz. So I'm gonna be hitting these with some plain water. All right, we're gonna get this closed up, let these keep smoking. We'll come back in another hour, check them, see if we need to spritz. I'm guessing that somewhere around the 3 hour mark, we'll be wrapping these today. And then after they're wrapped, they're gonna come out of the foil, go back on, and get some of that sauce to finish them. So I'll see you back here in 1 hour. All right, we've been going 2 hours now. Let's take a look at our ribs. We'll probably end up spritzing them, but I also want to give them a flex test, see how far along they are in tenderness. That color is still developing really nicely. I just want to do a little lift here and see how we're coming along. That has got some good flex already. Look at that. I've got to say, I think we're ready to wrap right now. You do want to give a spritz before we get them in the foil. I'm going to be double wrapping these. I'm gonna get this closed up. We'll come back in an hour when we will get the ribs out of the foil, sauce them, and let them finish up. See you back here in about an hour. All right, we're at the 3 hour mark. We're gonna be getting the ribs out of the foil, get them back on the grill, and glaze them with that Honey Chipotle sauce. This may seem quick to some people, to 3 hours and be done with the wrap, but every cook is different. You just gotta play it by ear and go with what the meat is telling you. Insulators and gloves are a great thing. Get some of our Honey Chipotle on here. Getting a nice glaze on here. All right, I'm gonna let these keep going. We'll come back in, let's say, 45 minutes to give them a check. I know I said I was gonna let it go 45 minutes, but actually got doing something, so it's been an hour. That's totally fine. This is a total of about 4 hours if my math is correct now on these ribs. Let's take a look. Gotta say, those are looking mighty gorgeous. Just gonna do a quick probe test here for final tenderness between the bones. Oh yeah. That's nice and tender without being mushy. All right, we're gonna get these off. I'm gonna let them rest for about 15 minutes. Then we will cut some ribs, have a taste, and we're gonna pair it with something from Naked Wines that's perfect for this springy day. All right, here is one of our racks of our Honey Chipotle St. Louis ribs. Now, I think I mentioned it outside that it might seem that, 4 hours total is quick. It's not always, but if you look at these ribs, this is a fairly thin rack of ribs, and that can very much affect your cook time. It doesn't take as long for the heat to penetrate to the center of the meat between the bones, so 4 hours is something I've seen before, especially with thinner ribs like this. And now let's cut in and have a taste. Roll it over so I can get between the bones because I rarely get it right. Let's roll back over. Of course, it messes up the cutting board, but I don't mind. Now, these are not going to be fall off the bone. If you like fall off the bone, I would say go another half hour, 45 minutes, probably in the foil. That really helps tenderize them. I like mine more bite off the bone. So let's see how they taste. Cheers. You can see right there, nice bite away from the bone. That's how I like them. Great flavor. That Honey Chipotle is a perfect sauce for this. I actually think that sauce might be good on chicken too, but man, let me tell you, on pork ribs, it's killer. And I mentioned we're going to be pairing our ribs with a really delicious offering from Naked Wines. We have a Prosecco, a Col de Lucia Prosecco from Italy. It's perfect and, as I think I said, springy, just like today. Cheers. That is delicious. It's crisp, it's bright, it's a little bit sweet, and you might not think that goes well with ribs, but it does, especially at this time of year. I'd like to thank Naked Wines again for sponsoring this video and supporting my channel. And remember, if you use the link in the video description to place an order, you'll get $100 off your first case of wine.